May God continue to bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Please, may you be seated. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Your Excellencies, Governors here present, our keynote speaker, Senator Hope Uzodinma, Governor of Imo State and Chairman Progressive Governors Forum, Kogi State Governor, His Excellency Ahmed Usman Ododo, Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, and other members of the Federal Executive Council here present, the Chief of Staff to the President, distinguished senators, honorable members of House of Representatives here present, our Royal Father and Chairman of this conference, His Eminence, Alhaji Mohammed Saad Abubakar III, other Royal Fathers here present, Co-Chairman of this conference, Prince Nduka Ogbagbena, Fathers of the Day, His Excellency Aremo Shegu Oshoba and Chief Onyema Ugochukwu, President of the Nigerian Guild of Editors, Eze Anaba, Fellows and Elders of the Guild, very senior advisors of the President on Media and Publicity and Strategy, State Commissioners of Information and other commissioners here present, former presidents of the Nigerian Guild of Editors, managing directors, editors-in-chief, directors general of government-owned media, distinguished editors, media executives, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and welcome to the 21st All Nigeria Editors Conference, the nation's foremost gathering of editorial minds, thought leaders, media professionals whose pen and microphones shape public understanding and national direction. My name is Charles Kalu. I'm the Social and Publicity Secretary of this great association. And my co-MC is Ms. Pauline Ubodaga. She's a member of the Standing Committee representing the North of the Guild. Both of us will try to navigate this conference to its end.
Thank you so much, Charles. It's a rare privilege for me to be here. Today, we gather under the compelling theme, Democratic Governance and National Cohesion, the Role of Editors. It is a subject that strikes at the very heart of our own national journey, a call to reflect on how, as editors, we interpret democracy, mediate public discourse, and foster unity in an increasingly complex national conversation.
This conference brings together, as a matter of fact, over 400 editors here seated, and media administrators from the print, broadcast, online platforms across Nigeria. Indeed, it's a powerful assembly of voices that inform, educate, and hold power accountable.
Over the next 2 days, we will interrogate how the media can strengthen democratic values, promote inclusion, and contribute to building a cohesive nation, anchored on truth, fairness, and shared purpose.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, this conference is not just another professional meeting. It is a national dialogue, facilitated by those who chronicle the nation's progress, challenges, and aspirations.
We are particularly honored that you, Mr. President, has graciously accepted to declare this historic conference open. A gesture that underscores the importance your administration places on press freedom, responsible journalism, and democratic engagement.
And to our distinguished editors, this gathering offers us a moment of reflection to examine how our editorial choices can bridge divides rather than widen them, to remind ourselves that beyond the headlines and deadlines, our ultimate duty is to truth, justice, and the unity of Nigeria.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as we set the tone for what promises to be an inspiring and impactful experience, let us reaffirm our shared commitment to using the power of the pen and the platform of the media to nurture democracy and national cohesion.
And on this note, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, I welcome all of you to the 21st All Nigeria Editors Conference taking place in the city of Abuja. Please, can we put our hands together for ourselves, please?
And so we would like to start off without much ado by inviting the President of the Nigerian Guild of Editors, Eze Anaba, to give us a welcome address. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, permit me to stand on the established protocol partially, because it will be remiss of me not to acknowledge again the presence of our President, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. Want to recognize the governors who have taken out time from their busy schedule to honor us today. Of course, our royal father, the Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Said Abubakar. You're welcome, sir. I also want to recognize past presidents and fellows of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. I want to recognize distinguished editors and senior media executives here, and our esteemed partners and sponsors. But again, let me also recognize our own minister. When I mean our minister, the man that deals with information, our very, very honorable Minister of Information. I also want to recognize our leaders in the media, those who have lived their lives guiding us, being with us, and showing us the way. I want to start off with Uncle Sam Amoka, the publisher of Vanguard, followed by his brother, His Excellency Aremo Olusegun Oshoba. Of course, the man I call Supreme Chairman, the Prince Nduka Obagbena. I want to recognize Chief Oyema Ogochukwu. I want to recognize Malam Kabiru, the publisher of Daily Trust. I want to recognize Mr. John Momo, the chairman of Channels TV. just to mention a few. These are leaders today in the industry, and we are happy to have some of them seated here to witness this occasion. Let me start off by saying that it is with profound honor and a deep sense of responsibility that I welcome all of you to this 21st Annual All Nigeria Editors Conference. As the MC said earlier, it is the largest annual gathering of the editors, media leaders, and thought influencers in our nation. For more than 2 decades, the conference has served as a platform for national reflection, dialogue, and professional renewal within the Nigerian media landscape. We are particularly delighted that the President is here and has accepted to declare this conference open. Mr. President, sir, your presence underscores your administration's recognition of the strategic importance of the media in nation building and in deepening democratic governance. Indeed, this gathering reflects our collective resolve to ensure that the media remains the cornerstone of Nigeria's democracy. As we gather here, under the banner of the Nigerian Guild of Editors, it is fitting that we pay tribute to those whose foresight bettered this noble initiative. Permit me to make special mention of Malam Baba Dantiye, MON, MNI, FNGE. He was the president of the Guild in 2004 when this idea of holding an annual editors conference was bettered. Malam, thank you very much. What began as a modest idea in 2004 has now grown into a national institution, a vital forum where editors from across the country converge to exchange ideas, examine issues of governance, and contribute to shaping the direction of our great nation. I wish to acknowledge with deep gratitude all past presidents of our Guild who have sustained this tradition of annual reflection and engagement. The theme of this year's conference, Democratic Governance and National Cohesion, the role of editors, could not have been more timely. Our democracy, though resilient, continues to be tested by insecurity, economic hardship, misinformation, and declining public trust in institutions and government officials' intolerance sometimes to press freedom. In such times, the role of editors becomes even more critical. As custodians of information and interpreters of events, editors shape public opinion and set the tone of national conversation. Our decisions, what we publish, how we frame stories, and the voices we amplify have far-reaching implications for democracy and unity. Democratic governance flourishes only when citizens are well informed and when the media acts as a credible, independent watchdog. Editors must therefore defend the sanctity of truth, insist on transparency, and hold power to account, not as adversaries of government, but as constructive partners in the pursuit of national progress. Similarly, national cohesion requires that we rise above divisions and use our platforms to promote understanding, tolerance, and shared values. The pen must never become an instrument of division or hate, but a tool for healing and bridge building. Our editorial judgment must always reflect balance, fairness, and patriotism. The media's is recognized constitutionally as the fourth estate of the realm. Under Chapter 2, Chapter 2, Section 22 of the Constitution, empowers the media to uphold the fundamental objectives of state principles and hold government accountable to the people. The media is also a veritable development partner. But for it to work effectively and perform its role, Mr. President, sir, the media must survive as a business. Without economic sustainability, our constitutional and social responsibilities become ineffectual. Therefore, we seek legislative and executive assistance to help balance our business, to make our businesses viable with our public duty. Your Excellency, Mr. President, the media today is distressed. Most newspapers, television houses cannot pay salaries, not because they're not doing well, Your Excellency. It's because the components to perform their duty, the cost of producing them is prohibitive. Let me share with you, Your Excellency, the one I'm most comfortable with. I'm a newspaper editor. I work with the Vanguard. A ton of newsprint in Nigeria today costs 1.3, 1.4 million. And it lasts just 1 or 2 days. And if a newspaper is to survive in a month, Your Excellency, buying newspaper alone wipes out all the profits. We're not even talking about other components, which are all penalized and imported. We're talking about ink, we're talking about plates. I'll go to the broadcast sector later. At the end of the day, Your Excellency, your government has been working so hard to provide jobs for the people. If the media cannot keep jobs by paying people their salary, they cannot help our democracy. So that's why we are happy you are here, Your Excellency, to help us intervene to save the media industry. And we have a couple of ideas which we want to put before Your Excellency today. I will share them with you, sir. Let's talk about tax deduction for media advertisers. No, let's start with corporate tax relief. That's for between 5 to 10 years, which will enable media houses to stabilize, meet operating costs, and sustain their watchdog role. Number 2, sir, VAT exemption. In recognition of its social responsibility role, the media should be exempted from VAT on essential tools and equipment, a practice already in place in countries like Canada, India, and South Africa. The reason I mentioned that, sir, if you start to help us, they might accuse you that you are bribing the media. But it's not only in Nigeria. Other developed countries are doing it. They are supporting their media houses and their media platform to sustain democracy. That's why we are begging you, sir. We also beg you, Your Excellency, to incentivize large corporations to advertise in very verified Nigerian media outlets through tax credits. This will redirect revenue to local journalists, strengthen investigative reporting, and reduce reliance on foreign grants. Then, this one is a little bit problematic. We call it I call it access to affordable financing. We call for the establishment of a low-interest loan scheme through the Bank of Industry or the Development Bank of Nigeria to help media organizations upgrade equipment, expand their reach, and create jobs. Your Excellency, being a major player, you have been a major player in Nigeria's democracy for years. Some of the media brokers' houses that you used to know have gone under because they just can't survive. The last but not the least, sir, what I call digital transition and innovation grants. By this we mean a media development fund should be established to support the digital transformation of Nigerian media, promoting corporate online platforms, data journalism, and multimedia storytelling. To avoid political interference, such a fund should be managed by an independent board. Again, sir, for effective performance of our consumer duties, we call for the repeal of laws that inhibit press freedom. We had already undertaken an exercise to identify these laws, and we had also presented a proposal to our Honorable Minister of Information and National Registration. We had also presented to the Speaker, to the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives and the Constitutional Review Committee of the House of Reps. We also seek state-sanctioned protection of journalists carrying out their legitimate work from arbitrary arrest or misuse of cybercrime laws. Towards this end, sir, we propose the establishment of a media freedom and safety charter endorsed by the President or the Presidency, approved by the Legislature, and upheld by the Judiciary and the Guild. Furthermore, development of Nigeria's rural communities is key to our national growth. We must bring the underserved rural areas and conflict zones into our daily news reporting to balance our current urban-centered reporting. This is a direct appeal to you, Mr. President. Another direct appeal. As committed advocate of the fourth estate of the realm, the NGE respectfully requests that your organization, your administration recognize journalism as a public good, deserving of targeted fiscal incentives, legal protection, and developmental support, not as patronage, but to strengthen the foundation of our democracy. Building a cohesive democratic Nigeria is a shared responsibility. It requires constructive engagement among the media, government, civil society, and the private sector. Your Excellency, we appeal to your administration and indeed to all parts of government to see the media as partners in progress, not as adversaries. A free, responsible, and vibrant press remains the lifeblood of any democracy. When the press thrives, democracy breathes. When the press is stifled, democracy suffocates. When journalists are respected, protected, and granted access to information, governance becomes more transparent and the citizens are better informed. The Guild also acknowledges our partners, sponsors who continue to support our work. Your collaboration sustains this conference and strengthens our shared mission of national development. Now, this is for us, journalists. This conference offers us a timely opportunity to reflect on and interrogate the role of the media in shaping a stable, just, and united Nigeria. We must ask ourselves, how can editors contribute to credible election, national dialogue, peace building, and inclusive governance? How can we adapt to new technologies and evolving newsroom realities without compromising ethical standards? These are the questions that must guide our deliberations in the days ahead. The Nigerian Guild of Editors remains steadfast in its commitment to ethical journalism, continuous professional development, and the defense of press freedom. As we open the 21st annual conference of this annual conference, let us recommit ourselves to the ideals of democracy, fairness, and patriotism. Let our deliberations over the coming days generate practical ideas that will guide policy, rebuild public trust, and fortify our democracy. Together, let us continue to wield the power of words responsibly, truthfully, and in the service of our great nation. On behalf of the Nigerian Guild of Editors, I thank all our delegates, panelists, and invited guests. May our discussions be enriching, our friendship stronger, and our country greater. Thank you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Yes, indeed, he deserves the standing ovation. He's our president. He's our president. He's our president. This is the first time we are in the presidential villa for the last 21 years. Thank you very much, Mr. Eze Anaba, President of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. He did say, he mentioned partners, and just to complete that part, I think he didn't complete it, and our partners, because they also help in ensuring that we got here and all that we are doing. Mr. President, I crave your indulgence for the next 1 minute. Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, led by Alhaji Mohammed Idris, the minister. He's been very supportive. The Imo State government, Onwa Oyoko, has consistently supported the Guild. In 1 year, he hosted the Nigerian Guild of Editors Conference. Plateau State government, we appreciate your work. Nigerian Communications Commission, ably led by Dr. Aminu Meida, the Executive Vice Chairman, he has been very supportive of the Guild. We also thank NNPCL, AMCON, Airpeace, and OP Financial Services. We thank you for what you do for the Guild. Thank you for your support.
And now it is our pleasure and honor to invite the keynote speaker of the 21st All Nigerian Editors Conference, His Excellency Senator Hope Uzodinma, Executive Governor of Imo State and Chairman Progressive Governors Forum. Please let's give him a round of warm applause as he comes forward.
His people call him Onwa Oyoko. Please can we put our hands together for him? Thank you very much, sir. Your Excellency Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and Commander-in-Chief of our armed forces. Your Excellency, the Governor of Kogi State, Alhaji Usman Ododo, our leader and former Governor of Ogun State, Chief Aremo Shegun Oshoba, the chairman or the co-chairman of this conference, His Eminence Alhaji Muhammad Saad Abubakar, CFR, MNI, and Prince Ndoka Obebuna, the publisher of these day newspapers, Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, and other members of the Federal Executive Council in our midst, senior presidential aides, royal fathers here present, fathers of the day, the Controller General of Nigerian Customs Service, other heads of departments of MDS in Nigeria, distinguished editors,
participants and delegates to this conference, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. I'm deeply honored to be here to address this gathering, a gathering of gatekeepers, the men and women who decide what becomes news, what gets amplified, what gets amplified, and what fades into silence. For me, this meeting offers an opportunity for a great reunion with highly esteemed editors, whom I now call my friends. Given my frequent intercourse with you, even before the election of this current executive, I suspect that you may one day consider making me a fellow of the guild. I must say that I appreciate the privilege to deliver this keynote address. After reading your letter nominating me as the keynote speaker, I was at a loss as to why the conference would at this one time choose a theme: democratic governance and national cohesion, the role of editors, and a sub-theme: electoral integrity and trust deficit, what Nigerians expect in 2027. But on a closer scrutiny of the theme and the sub-theme, I came to the informed suspicion that as the wordsmith that you are, you were cleverly playing with words to downplay your public accountability to electoral integrity and trust deficit. Obviously, you are set to be held accountable for democratic governance and national cohesion. Hence, you added the rider, the role of editors, which is a clear indication of your willingness to accept public scrutiny. But you cleverly evaded that rider in the sub-theme, electoral integrity and trust deficit. What Nigerians expect in 2027. That was very, very smart of you. But I have news for you. I will not let you escape accountability for electoral integrity and trust deficit and what Nigerians expect in 2027. Here is why. If you have a role to play in democratic governance and national cohesion, then you also have a role to play in electoral integrity and trust deficit. Because without electoral integrity, there can be no democracy. Electoral integrity begets democracy, and democracy begets good governance, and good governance fast-tracks the exorcism of trust deficit. In all of this, your role as facilitator, amplifier, or catalyst is key. Your reports and comments paint a picture of tomorrow. Therefore, the picture you paint of 2027 is what Nigerians should expect. So I hold it to be true that as editors, you should be held accountable for both the team and the sub-team. And since you asked me to speak on the team and the sub-team, I have used the privilege you conferred on me to come up with a hybrid lecture topic. So for me, my keynote topic today is 2027, editors as catalyst of democracy, national cohesion, and electoral integrity. I do not doubt that you will agree with me that in the context of this conference, there can be no better description of your role as editors. As I proceed with my speech, you will find more reasons to agree with my position. To start with, let me say that editors are very powerful influencers of society because you wield the most powerful weapon on earth, and that weapon is the pen. The weighty words of the celebrated English author Edward Bulwer-Lytton in his 1939 play Cardinal Richelieu, "The pen is mightier than the sword," says it all. It was a metonymic statement. The significance is that the pen can change and shape society faster and more permanently than the sword. The pen represents intellect. The pen represents written ideas and diplomacy, while the sword represents physical violence and military might. And that powerful instrument, the pen, is your symbol of trade and work tool. As a matter of fact, it is proudly displayed on your logo. I know that as editors, you will be quick to remind me that as powerful as your pen may be, you are professionally restrained from giving impartial and objective reports of events, and that you are not participants in the events. That is one side of the coin. The other side is contained in the providential ways of Stephen Ward, a leading scholar of journalism ethics, who reminds us that journalism objectivity is both an epistemic and an ethical principle. Epistemologically, it is part of the pursuit of knowledge. Ethically, it is a moral requirement. But objectivity is not simply neutrality. It is not the mechanical transcription of events, as if such transcriptions were even possible. Every editorial choice, what story leads, which voice gets prominence, which narrative dominates, is interpretative. Objectivity, properly understood, carries a solemn responsibility. It must be calibrated by overriding consideration of national cohesion and editorial integrity. When your editorial framing treats every electoral challenge as evidence of systemic fraud, rather than contextualizing it within an imperfect but improving process, you are not being objective. You are making a choice, and that choice has consequences. So as I speak today about editorial responsibility, I am not asking you to abandon objectivity. I'm asking you to practice it at its highest level, and that is accuracy over speed, verification over virality, and context over clickbait. Does that amount to restriction? The answer is no. On the contrary, it is a call to rigor. The powers editors wield, what editors actually do is akin to a pastoral duty. You decide what becomes urgent and what disappears. You choose the lens through which millions of Nigerians see their country, see their leaders, and even see each other. That is how the media is structured. A policy shift is either government U-turn or strategic adaptation. A land border closure is either economic protectionism, impoverishing the people, or national security imperative. Same facts, different frames, entirely different public perception. The 2023 elections demonstrated this better than any example I can conjure. Editorial choices shaped how Nigerians expressed and experienced that election. Not just what they knew, but how they felt about its legitimacy. Some newsrooms framed every electoral challenge as evidence of systemic fraud Others emphasized resilience and reform. Both could cite facts, but the editorial architecture determined whether readers saw a flawed but improving process or a collapsing democracy. When we look at the performance of the media in the 2023 elections, we find that it was actually below expectations. While some were truly professional in their reportage, some took it upon themselves to even undermine the integrity of the electoral body. Under the guise of calling the election results based on returns from a few polling units, the credibility of that election was undermined. The people were lured by such reports to believe that the election was not free, was not fair, and was not credible. Unlike other professionals, editors cannot claim to be merely executing mandates. They are actively responsible for how the citizens rate the electoral process. A civil servant implements a policy. A police officer enforces the law. But you actively choose the lens. In doing so, you shape public opinion, you shape public trust, and ultimately public behavior. That is the power you wield. The question is whether you are wielding it with the weight it deserves. So when we talk about the trust deficit and who bears responsibility, there is a trust deficit in Nigeria's information ecosystem, and it is corrosive. The 2023 Demand Trust Barometer is revealing enough. Look at the numbers. It revealed that 51% of Nigerians trust the media. That sounds neutral, perhaps even acceptable, until you realize what it actually means. It means that nearly half of Nigerians, that is 49%, actively distrust the media. Not have concerns about or skeptical of, distrust, as in they do not believe our media reports. And here is what should trouble you even more. According to the barometer, Nigerians trust in NGOs. 71% of Nigerians trust NGOs. Their trust in businesses is at 66%. Their trust in the media is at 51%. And their trust in the government is at the minimum of 35%. Think about what the hierarchy reveals. It means that Nigerians trust non-governmental organizations. Many of them are funded by foreign interests and operate within minimal democratic accountability. Yet, more than that percentage trust the fourth estate of the realm. They trust corporations that are seeking profit more than they trust journalists seeking truth. This is an institutional crisis. And it gets worse. When asked directly, 56% of Nigerians say the government is a source of false or misleading information. Only 28% say it is trustworthy. The 2023 Demand Trust Barometer goes further. It identifies the primary drivers of societal polarization in Nigeria. And two variables stand out: distrust in government and distrust in the media. That amounts to distrust in the very institutions meant to inform and to govern. This creates a vicious circle. When government credibility collapses, media coverage of the government becomes suspect. When the media frames every electoral challenge as evidence of systemic fraud, rather than contextualizing it within an imperfect but improving process, it reinforces the very distrust that fragments society. When you, editors and gatekeepers, choose narratives that amplify division, because division drives sales, you feed the polarization, and make their own work even harder. Post-2023, trust fractured because the narratives around the election became tribal, fragmented, and in some cases inflammatory. Coverage did not stop at the reporting divisions. It amplified it. Headlines displayed polarization and deepened it. I do understand the constraints you operate under. Many proprietors have political alignments. Advertisers have interests. Engagement metrics reward sensationalism. Division drives clicks. Outrage drives sales. These are real pressures, I agree. I don't dismiss them. But constraints are not excuses. Every profession operates under pressure. Doctors, medical doctors, they face resource shortages. Judges, they face political influence. Governors, we face fiscal limits. But we don't say because the constraints are real that failures should be justified. Professionalism is tested within constraints, not in their absence. So the bitter truth is that while Anec, security agencies, and political parties have been relentlessly scrutinized for their roles in electoral integrity, editors have largely escaped that examination. So you have critiqued everyone's responsibility for public trust, but you have not interrogated your own. So electoral integrity does not begin and end with ballot security or Anec transparency. It includes public confidence in the process. Public confidence lives or dies in the narratives you control. If your coverage leads citizens to believe elections are fundamentally rigged, turnouts drops, legitimacy erodes, and democracy weakens, regardless of what actually happened at the polling units. So you see the editorial choices you make contribute to the trust deficit which you report on. Now, speaking to the role of editors in shaping public opinion towards 2027, which is the main sub-theme. We are about 17 months from the next presidential election. What you do between now and then will determine not only what Nigerians know about 2027, but how they will experience it. You will have to choose whether to frame candidates as threats or alternatives. You will choose whether to emphasize differences that divide or principles that unite. You will choose whether editorial silence on certain stories suggests they don't matter, or whether relentless focus on some issues could pose existential threats in the country. These days, a leadership tussle within a political party gets reported as a sign that our democracy is failing. Why does this happen? Because when your coverage consistently treats political disagreement as an existential threat or conflict, when every policy debate becomes a battle, every electoral or party contest a crisis, every compromise a betrayal, you train citizens to see democracy as perpetually contested rather than a shared process of decision-making. Check out some of these prototype headlines. Crisis rocks Party A. Party B is dead. Poverty index. Nigeria is the worst country in the world. And etc. and etc. This type of sensational headlines, which are commonplace in our media space, fast-track the downfall of a country. We should protect our country. We should understand nationalism. We should be able to be patriotic. But I know the commercial trap. Sensationalism drives engagement. Candidate A, accused of fraud. It gets more attention than candidate X releases policy blueprint. Division sells, yes. Outrage travels faster than nuance. But editors are not mere traffickers in outrage. You have codes of practice. You have standards. The question is whether those standards are being applied to electoral coverage with the rigor you apply elsewhere. National interest must be your editorial North Star. And national interest in an election year means coverage that informs without inflaming, that holds power accountable without treating every contest as a catastrophe, that allows citizens to make choices without making them believe that the process is irredeemably broken. The electoral integrity begins with editorial integrity. So there is a need to understand what electoral integrity means in every sense. It cannot be only about ballots. It cannot be about security alone and logistics. It must include the integrity of the information Nigerians consume about those processes. If your newsroom allows misinformation, rumor, and tribalism to masquerade as journalism, electoral integrity is already compromised, even before a single vote is cast. If unverified claims about rigging circulate unchecked on your pages or platforms, you have undermined the process regardless of Anec competence. This is where I challenge what I see as an abdication. Editors often treat electoral integrity as someone else's responsibility. Anec, executive, security agencies, and civil society. But it is yours too. That is why I am happy with the lecture topic you gave to me. Arguably, you have more powers to shape it than most other actors because you shape the information environment in which citizens form opinions and reach judgments. Answer these questions in your heart and you will get closer to the truth. Do you know as a professional, do your honest best to protect electoral integrity through the discharge of your duties based on national interest? Have commercial, political, or proprietary considerations sometimes informed your editorial choices? In 2027, will your editorial practice contribute to a credible election, or will it contribute to the perception of a flawed one? National cohesion can be facilitated if we can look at the editor's unfinished businesses. In all fairness, Nigerian editors have accomplished much that deserves recognition. Your newsrooms have produced investigative journalists who exposed corruption. You have published reports that held power accountable. Through your coverage, you have amplified marginalized voices. These contributions matter and they are essential to democracy. But what is often missing is journalism that actively builds cohesion, not just reports on its absence. There is a difference between neutrality or neutrally documenting division and actively choosing narratives that remind Nigerians of shared values, shared stakes, and a shared future. You report on ethnic tension, regional disparities, and religious conflicts, as you should. But how often do your editorial choices highlight what binds us together rather than what divides us? When you choose to run northern leaders, reject southern candidates as your banner, instead of consensus forms around the economic agenda, for instance, you have made a choice about what matters. That choice shapes whether readers and listeners see politics as a tribal contest or a democratic process. So the reality heading into 2027 is that elections are won and lost, not only on policies or candidates, but on whether voters believe that the outcome will be legitimate. That belief is shaped by whether they have been hearing fragmented tribal narratives or cohesive nation-building ones. And that is an editorial choice you make every day. Let me give you a concrete example of what editorial integrity in the service of national cohesion looks like. Most recent reports indicate that Nigeria's $2.35 billion Eurobond was oversubscribed by $10.65 billion. That is 453% oversubscription. The Nigerian Stock Exchange recorded 2.7 trillion naira in transactions in the first 4 months of 2025, which is a 43% increase year on year. Foreign portfolio investment surged to 162%. Sovereign Investment Authority now holds an asset worth of 4.42 trillion naira. Our GDP grew by 4.23%, the highest in a decade. These are real market outcomes. Investors do not oversubscribe bonds out of sentiments. They do so because they expect returns. And returns require stability and policy coherence. President Bola Anec Tinubu's economic reforms are clearly generating the confidence that is producing these investment fostering results. So when you amplify the reality and the facts that President Tinubu's reform policies are yielding fruits and that a robust economic future is manifesting, you are using facts for nation building and inspiring narratives ahead of 2027 election. You are building confidence in the future. You are making Nigerians look towards 2027 with optimism and patriotism. But when you begin to follow the negative utterances of those who don't like our country, you are misinforming Nigerians. None of this requires abandoning your watchdog function. You can hold the government accountable and avoid framing every accountability story as an evidence of irredeemable dysfunction. You can report electoral irregularities and avoid suggesting that the entire system is corrupt. You can cover political competition and remind citizens that competitors will govern the same country afterwards. The question is, ahead of 2027, will you be passive chroniclers of division or active catalysts of the cohesion that democracy requires to function? In closing, Your Excellencies, distinguished editors, ladies and gentlemen, let me say this as part of my closing remarks. The administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu understands what is at stake. His presence at this conference is a huge statement of priority. When a sitting president dedicates time to a gathering of editors and communication professionals, it signals that the battle against disinformation and the project of national cohesion are treated as a matter of national importance. Besides, the president has backed the commitment with structure. The support and establishment of multiple strategic communication channels, from not only the National Orientation Agency to the weekly ministerial briefings series, reflect a systematic effort to ensure that the government does not cede the information space to speculation and rumor. There are transparency mechanisms designed to ensure that policy decisions are explained, defended, and open to scrutiny. You are not spectators in 2027. You are active participants. You are catalysts and facilitators. Whether you acknowledge it or not, the narratives you shape between now
and the election will determine whether Nigerians approach 2027 with hope or cynicism, with trust or suspicion, with a sense of shared stake or through a tribal lens. I am not asking you to become a propagandist for the state. I'm rather asking you to become custodians of information integrity, which sits well with electoral integrity. Let 2027 be the election year where the Nigerian media became architects of a shared democratic future, where you demonstrated that journalism can be rigorous, can be engaging, can be commercially viable, and work in the service of national cohesion, where you accept that you are not only accountable for democratic governance and national cohesion, but also for electoral integrity and trust deficit. What you choose to do or not to do has enormous consequences for our dear country. And always remember this, even in the medieval age, when the clergy was the first estate, the nobility the second, and the commoners the third, the press was the fourth estate. In modern age, the legislature is the first estate, the executive is the second, and the judiciary is the third. The media is still the fourth estate. Now you can see, whether ancient or modern, you are the last man standing. Therefore, as the saying goes, the goldfish has no hiding place. So just know that history is waiting to critique the role, not just of the first, nor the second and third estates, but the fourth estate as well, on how they did or failed to do in 2027 and the run-up thereto. It will help to make or mar Nigeria. The choice is ours in this room. I want to thank you for the privilege of listening to me. May God Almighty bless all of us. I wish you a successful convention. Thank you.
Another round of applause, please. Ancient or modern, the editor is the last man standing. That is a takeaway, a very powerful one too. So let's not take it lightly. We would like to say a big thank you to His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Imo State and Chairman Progressives Governors Forum, Senator Hope Uzodimma, for a very cerebral presentation.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies. Just by way of a brief introduction, Comptroller General of Nigeria Customs Service, Bashir Adeola Adeni, MFR, is also here with us. Thank you very much for coming, sir. General Lucky Irabo, CFR, former CDS, is also here. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. Our conference speakers, Professor Awakalu SAN, Senior Partner Awakalu Partners and former Attorney General of Abia State, is also here with us. Professor Sherif Gari Ibrahim, Head of Department, Political Science and International Affairs, is also here. Please, Your Excellency, I don't think it would be out of order if I introduce our former presidents who are here. Malam Babadantie MON, MNI, FGN is here. Malam Garuba Shehu, fellow of the Nigerian Guild of Editors, is also here. Please, can you take a bow, sir? Mr. Benga Adefaye is also here. Can you take a bow, sir? Chief Femi Adeshino is also here. Thank you very much. Malam Mustafa Issa is also here. Thank you for coming. And next on the line, as we have it here, is our dear friend, our dear colleague, the Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Mohammed Idris, to kindly come up for his speech, please.
Thank you very much. Okay. Your Excellency, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Your Excellency, Chief Hope Uzodimma, Prospective Fellow of the Nigerian Guild of Editors, Your Excellency, the Governor of Kogi State, our Royal Fathers, my colleagues, the Honorable Minister of Solid Minerals, Editor Emeritus, Mr. Dele Alake, Special Advisors to the President, Mr. Bayo Nanuga and Chief Sunday Dare, Senior Special Assistants, I can see Chunde Rahman, Abdulaziz, Malam Tope Ajayi, President Emeritus, former President of the Nigerian Newspaper Proprietary Association of Nigeria, Prince Nduka Obaigena. I have not forgotten our royal fathers, the Sultan of Sokoto, the present and former presidents of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. What I want to say, Your Excellency, is that I never invited Chief Hope Uzodimma nor wrote the topic of that. So I think that the Nigerian Guild of Editors, I'm not sure that this was the outcome they were expecting when they invited His Excellency Hope Uzodimma to be here. It is with profound sense of honor and deep significance that I stand before you today as we gather here to a landmark event in the annals of journalism's history in this country. For the first time in our nation's history, a sitting president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is gracing the Nigerian Guild of Editors conference with his presence. This is a powerful testament to the high esteem in which this administration holds the fourth estate of the realm. Mr. President, from the colonial days to our tortuous journey to democracy, it is instructive to note that Mr. President is a personification of the very resilience and struggle that define the Nigerian media. His own antecedents are woven into the fabric of our historical struggle for democracy. Recall his unwavering courage in the face of past adversities, such as the infamous denial of allocation to the LCDS under his stewardship as Lagos State Governor, a brazen act of injustice which he confronted with the same resolve that characterized the press fight against military dictatorship. Like you, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has stood firm against the tides of oppression. He understands from first-hand experience that a vibrant and independent media is not the adversary of government, but the bedrock upon which a true and lasting democracy is built. That same fortitude is now the engine of our national renewal. With the unwavering conviction, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is steering our nation through a very tough but necessary reform to birth a more prosperous Nigeria. The difficult decisions have been taken. At some point, the press firestorm was about the removal of the oil subsidy and unification of the Naira. Now we advance with a forthcoming, modernized tax regime designed to build and create a fairer system that funds infrastructure, education, and healthcare that will unlock the boundless potentials of our people. So now, when I listen to the president of the guild asking for the exemption of the newspapers and the media generally from the tax regime, I await the president's response. But I urge the press to pay close attention. This tax system worked in Lagos. It will work for Nigeria as a whole. Central to this vision of a prosperous Nigeria is an environment where free speech and dynamic media can thrive. I stand before you today to affirm that under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's leadership, we have nurtured an unprecedentedly egalitarian media ecosystem. We have over 1,000 licensed radio and television stations operating across this nation. It is significant to note that not a single one has been threatened, gagged, or shut down by the government for expressing whatever views it holds. This is not coincidence, but a conscious commitment to the constitutional principles of press freedom. This commitment is being recognized globally. It is the same principle stance that significantly contributed to Nigeria being granted the hosting right for the International Media and Information Literacy Institute. Only a week ago, UNESCO granted Nigeria the hosting right of the first of its kind anywhere in the world of Media and Information Literary Institute to be hosted here in Abuja. This indeed will connect Nigeria to media literate dynamics from across the world. All participants, all media practitioners from around the world will, as a result of this hosting of this Media and Information Literacy Institute, come to Nigeria and help us to rid the whole world of the menace of fake news, misinformation, and disinformation. This is not a coincidence, but a conscious commitment to the constitutional principles of press freedom. Therefore, as we deliberate here today, I charge you, my colleagues, to see yourselves as essential partners in national renewal. The government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has demonstrated its faith in you through his actions, not just his words. We invite you, therefore, to engage, to critique constructively, and to report with utmost responsibility that demands your participation at this moment of our history. The best editor is the one that knows what not to report. Let us work together to tell the Nigerian story with balance, with truth, and with an unyielding belief in the promise of our great nation. Let us know that media and information literacy are essential in the construction of any viable democracy. We have to report with responsibility, but also with a greater sense of patriotism. We have heard from the governor of Imo State. The only person standing in this democratic journey that has not changed is the media, the fourth estate of the realm. Therefore, let this last man standing continue to stand in defense of our democracy. Thank you very much for listening. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation. Thank you very much, sir. Please, I joined the guild when I was still a baby. A former president of the guild was reigning then. I never knew. Kindly bear with me, sir. Chief Onyema Ugochukwu is also a former president of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. Thank you very much, sir.
And now, just before we invite our Deputy President of the the Guild, we would just like to acknowledge that, say thanks to the Customs Service, Nigerian Customs Service, for their support. And now we invite Dr. Sebastian MNI, Deputy President of the Nigerian Guild of Editors, to give us a vote of thanks on behalf of the Guild. Thank you.
Not to worry, I understand why you're murmuring. He will do that. Thank you very much, Dr. Abu.
Your Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Your Excellency, the Governor of Imo State, our own keynote speaker for today's occasion, Senator Hope Uzodinma, Your Excellency, my dear brother, the Governor of Kogi State, Alhaji Ahmed Usman Ododo, permit me, for want of time, a distinguished guest to stand on the well-established protocol by the MC and reaffirmed by the President of the Guild so that we can make some progress. As has been said by the President of the Guild, and confirmed by the Minister of Information, indeed, for the past 21 years since the conference was established, this is the first time we are having a sitting president be in attendance in our conference. I think he deserves, our dear president deserves a round of applause. At some point, we started imagining or even thinking whether the place of the editor no longer matters to government. As said by the Minister of Information, all of this has been added. And I want to say and thank our dear President for finding time to really break these jinx, and we are grateful, sir. I want to use this opportunity on behalf of the President of the Guild, Mr. Eze Anaba, to thank the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Idris, for making this happen along with his communication team. And this has indeed been very, very important to us as members of the Guild. I want to say we are grateful. We are also grateful to His Excellency the Governor of Imo State, Onwa, as his people call him, Senator Hope Uzodinma, for throwing the fireball in his keynote address. You have raised very pertinent issues. Whether we like it or not, these are facts we must take to heart and reflect upon. And we thank you for being very truthful in communicating to us what we need to also think about vis-a-vis our patriotism and our commitment to national development. I'd like to especially thank His Eminence, the Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Sahad Abubakar III, MNI, for finding time to come. As a matter of fact, he was ready to be here even the last week where the conference was fixed. But he wasn't aware that it has been postponed. He was here in Abuja. But as soon as we told him the conference has been postponed, he was still willing to be here. Your Eminence, we are grateful. Thank you also for the royal fathers that have accompanied him here today. I see also the Emir of Kefi, who is here. May God continue to help you, sir, in your leadership responsibility. How can I forget our own father and elder, His Excellency, the Chief Reporter of Nigeria, Olusegun Oshoba, for always being there for us, guiding us through the process of what we need to do, and to continue to sustain the legacy of what a patriotic press should be like. I'd like to use this opportunity to thank also the co-chairman of today's event, Prince Nduka Beguna, the cerebral leader of all times. Thank you very much, sir, for finding time to come. Let me use this time also to thank our elder, Chief Onyema Ogochukwu. I tell you, we are very blessed, because when you have elders who have gone through the rounds, always standing by you, you know you can always approach every challenge that comes with confidence. Thank you very much, our elders, sirs. Let me also use this opportunity to appreciate with gratitude all our sponsors for this conference. Thank you, the Plateau State government, led by His Excellency Caleb Mutfwang, who is unable to make it here today, but he insisted that a representative must be here to represent him. Thank you, my dear sister, Honorable Joyce Wabnam, MNI, for finding them to come. And also all the commissioners of information from Cross River, Ebonyi, as well as Plateau State, representing the governor, for being here. How can I forget our own dear brother, the CG of the Nigerian Customs Service, who has consistently supported our conferences. Thank you very much, sir. And all our sponsors, thank you. We appreciate you all. Let me also thank our former presidents who are here. The MCs have already introduced them to us. They have always been very passionate in standing around us and giving us the direction in the way things must go to continue to sustain the legacies of the Guild. We appreciate you. May God continue to help you and keep you for us. And on this note, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the President of the Guild, permit me to now invite our Father of the Nation and President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to give his remarks and declare the conference open. Mr. President.
Your Eminencies, ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Please. The Chairman, Progressive Governors Forum, the hope we've listened to you and thank you for the picks. All of our governors here, all members of the Executive Council, particularly the man who dragged me here, Mohammed Idris. He was so passionate and committed. He dragged the Alake with him to the office. I said, Mr. President, you have to attend the Guild of Editors conference. Right? I'm here. All the former state governors, leaders, members of diplomatic corps, President, Nigerian Guild of Editors, is there and ever. That was quite interesting. And they are still members of the Guild. Our royal fathers, thank you for being here.
and consistent inspiration to all of us in defense of our democracy and the future of this country. He has always been there patriotically with commitment and valuable suggestions. Thank you, Eminence, the Sultan of Sokoto, the captains of industry, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. If I look back at the time I first assumed office and the way you all dealt with me, over subsidy removal, quote unquote, the floating of our exchange rate, removing the arbitrage, the corruption in the society, and the opportunity blocked against the entire economy. We should celebrate that one today. That the tunnel of darkness and the headwind of the economy is getting better. It is my privilege to welcome you to the State House. This is for free. It's your house. This year's annual conference of Nigerian Guild of Editors. Your presence here reflects the enduring importance of the media in shaping national direction and strengthening democratic life. I commend the leadership of the Guild for sustaining the tradition of reflection and professional engagement. The theme you have chosen, democratic governance and national cohesion, role of editors, invite us to reflect on the state of our democracy and the way in which public discourse can either strengthen or weaken the bonds that holds our nation together. This conversation is necessary as we continue to build institutions that are transparent, resilient, and trusted by our citizens. Throughout our history, journalism in Nigeria has been more than a profession. It has been an instrument of national awakening. From early newspapers that challenged the colonial injustice to the principled voices that kept hope alive during the dark days of the military dictatorship. And at this junction, I must say thank you, Amoshek Mosova. I thank you in that way for the commitment, dedication, patriotism, and partnership that we all shared there. The Nigerian press has stood at a critical point in our nationhood to defend reason, dignity, and progress. Many journalists endured intimidation, detention, and personal hardship in defense of the public good. Their sacrifices are part of the foundation upon which our democracy rests today. We honor them not only in memory, but also by remaining committed to the values they upheld. Yet, freedom secured through struggle is not self-sustaining. It requires constant vigilance and reasonable exercise. A democracy is sustained not only by elections and laws, but also by the integrity of the public conversation. This is where your role becomes central and indispensable as last man standing. As editors and managers of the national information space, you shape narratives, you influence public understanding, you decide what becomes national focus and how our collective challenges are interpreted. The weight of that responsibility is extremely significant. It must be exercised with wisdom, fairness, and a strong sense of national duty. Nigeria is a large, as you know, and diverse country. Debate and differences are part of our reality. However, disagreement must never translate into erosion of national cohesion. Criticism, when informed and constructive, is a service to the nation. But cynicism that breeds mistrust and despair can weaken the very foundation of the society we seek to improve. The national interest must always remain paramount. We live in a time when information travels rapidly and widely. Social media has made every citizen a potential publisher. This has benefits, but it also increases the speed and scale of misinformation. Falsehood can take root before truth has time to speak. In such an environment, the editorial function is more important than ever. Verification must be your anchor. Balance must be your principle. And professional judgment must be your guide. I urge you, therefore, to continue upholding the highest standard of journalism. Report boldly, but do so truthfully. Criticize government policy, but do so with knowledge and fairness. Your aim must never be to tear down what we are building together, but to help build a better society. On our part, this administration remained committed to securing our nation, sustaining economic stability, and widening the circle of opportunity for all citizens. The reform we have undertaken have been challenging, but they are designed to place our economy on a strong and enduring footing. We have taken steps to restore macroeconomic balance, encourage investment, and build confidence. The signs of progress are visible in several sectors of the economy. Still, we know there is more work to do, and we remain focused on ensuring that growth translates into real improvement in the daily lives of all Nigerians. However, economic reforms and institutional improvement alone cannot build Nigeria we seek. Nation building requires cooperation, it requires trust, it requires a shared understanding that our future is tied together. Government has its role to play, the private sector has its role to play, civil society has its role to play, and the media has a distinct responsibility to help shape a climate of reason and unity. I ask of you, therefore, to continue to exercise that responsibility with the seriousness and honor. Let us choose clarity over confusion, responsibility over recklessness, and hope over despair. Let us remember that the stories we tell ourselves as a nation and as a people influence the country we become. I've listened to the request of the chairman of the guild. While I wait the full write-up, noted the corporate tax relief, part of the reform, VAT exemption from media tax credits, affordable loans from BOI and VBN. Establish development grants for digitization. Repeal laws that inhibit press freedom. Discuss it now. Highlight it if you know. I, as your president, endorse its proposals. Media and safety data will be our call. Distinguished editors, your work matters. The tone you sent in your newsroom. I watched the tone on some channels recently on Alhambra election. Before the result, you start here, forward to buy, forward to buy. Who is selling? If there is no reason to complain, let the cheerleaders. It's our country. It is our country. We are going to be discussing the value charter from here. What should be worrisome to you is the image of the country you project over the outside world. How well your institution is making effort to build a nation of credibility, with integrity that is required. That we may be poor. Poverty is not going to be our master. We are going to come out of it. Yes, we are challenged by terrorism, banditry, and all this. We recognize that. Are we doing something about it? Are we inspiring the armed forces? Are we encouraging them to fight? They put their lives on the line to defend the national sovereignty of this country. It is our responsibility. Take it as part of laundry list of discussions here. Your request is in my pocket. Follow up as I wish you a constructive, thoughtful, and fruitful deliberations. I look forward to the outcome of your discussions. Thank you. God bless Federal Republic of Nigeria. I declare the conference open.
Can we put our hands together again for Mr. President? The applause, remember, our request is in his pocket. Let's encourage him. Let's encourage him, please. Let's get it. Let's do it for the next 30 seconds. Mr. President has spoken, and I know he will do it. Do you agree? Thank you, Mr. President. Please sit down. Shortly, we'll just present some plaques to the Minister of Information, to the Imo State Governor, and to the President. Mr. Zanaba, please, your attention is needed. Can you present the plaques? Please. Thank you. Where are the plaques? Those are the plaques, please. First, to the Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, just a small plaque to commemorate the fact that for the very first time during your time as well, during the time of